another question?
Of course you can.
Because it's the one I'm more scared to ask.
Is the mic on there properly, or just hold it a bit closer, perhaps? Is it
Okay, because I'm so scared to ask it. I've just got a lot of fear around letting go of my anger towards men.
Mm-hmm.
But I sort of really want to do it because I can't get closer to God without it.
Yeah, that's true. So you have a fear of letting go of your anger towards men?
Yeah, like my father developed Alzheimer's and died, and then I've got a stepfather who's developed another form of dementia, and so like I'm feeling more of my emotions around the demanding, unexpressed emotions that are coming from
men. Yep.
And I'm so sick of it. I'm so over it.
Yep.
And I keep men right away from me because I either don't want men like that around me, or only want men that are willing to please women.
Yep.
And even that annoys me and irritates me too.
Because there's a demand in that as well, isn't there?
So I don't have a lot of communication with men at all because of that.
Yeah.
And I'm just really, really scared to let go of it because I've been into it a little bit and it's just like I don't exist is how I feel under that.
There's two aspects of it though, and one aspect you've identified, and it's great that you're feeling the grief, but there's this other aspect that you haven't identified and felt. And that's the aspect of actually you want to hold on to your anger with men.
Yeah, I know I have identified that. So there's a part that wants to let go of it and a part that just wants to hold on to it to protect. Feels like try to protect myself.
Good. So what are you protecting?
My vulnerability. Feels like. What's under that?
Is vulnerability an emotion?
No, it's just
Isn't vulnerability a state?
Yeah, it's a state.
Right. So, okay.
So
it's an emotion. So therefore, so whenever I say, oh, I'm not vulnerable, or I feel too vulnerable, we're not actually stating an emotion. There's actually emotions underneath the state, right, that I'm preventing.
I'm just really afraid to see it. I'm afraid to feel it.
Well, let's ask the opposite question, and that is, why would you be wanting to hold on to your anger with men? So let's go deeper into this.
So I can just stay separate. I don't have to take responsibility for what I've done to them or projected onto them.
It's a bit simpler than all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, just let yourself feel it, if you can just let yourself feel it. Why would I want, and many of you ladies, this is a great question for you to ask too, because many of you ladies are doing this. Why do I want to hold on to my anger with men? Like I want to be in a rage with them. Just give me an excuse to be in a rage with them and I'm in a rage with them. Well, you know, like I'm just waiting. I'm just like I watch him. There's a man that I can be angry with. You beauty. And off and watch. There's another one. I'm going to get him as well. And we're just even watching it in the supermarket. Yeah, see him. There's another one. You know. And every single man we're wanting to point out, you know, yeah, there's another one, there's another one. Like, why am I watching these men so intently wanting to be angry? Like, there's a lot of men that are really nice, but you know what happens with all them? You ignore all them, generally. Right? You don't notice what they did for you. You know, one opens the door for you, he should have done that, the stupid idiot. And this is what we have a tendency to do, is because we're watching for men to make the mistake. When men don't make the mistake and they're actually treating us nicely, we don't even really notice.
Right? So that I can reject them.
So you want to reject them?
Yeah,
so
before they reject me.
I want. Yeah, okay, so now, can you see? I want to reject them. What else do you want? To blame.
Yeah.
I want to...
annihilate.
Very good, very good. I don't know if that's how you spell it, but let's go.
Yeah.
Yep, I want them to be wrong.
Yeah.
Right? I want them to be wrong. So can you see, it's very helpful
I
actually.
want them to be wrong about me, like.
Can you
Because
see
I
that's
feel
just
so
you want to be,
judged.
you want Dad to be wrong about you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you see what we're often doing is we have a rage towards one or two of the men in our lives that we've not resolved, or if it's a man with a woman, one or two of the women in our life that we've not resolved. And what we finish up doing is we finish up projecting that against the entire gender, right? That's what we do. We project that entire set of emotions towards that entire gender. So my mum cheated on my father. So what do? We think all women are going to cheat on men. That's what they do. No? My father cheated on my mother. What do? We think all men are going to cheat on women. That's what they do. Do you know what I mean? There's an automatic projection of what actually happened in our childhood that's unresolved onto the world around us. And the truth is, in many cases, we want to stay in the place of anger. The place of anger, we become addicted to the place of anger. There is some positives that we feel from the place of anger. When I say positive, I don't feel they're positive, but we feel them as positives as we're feeling. And one of the positives is we have total control. That's the positive that many of us are addicted to. Right? So I want to reject men. Men are bastards. We need to recognise that, everyone. Men are bastards. And this is how we feel inside of ourselves. Right? Because, and it might only be that one or two men in our lives were bastards to us and were terrible to us. And often it traced back to, again, how our father treated us or our stepfather treated us or so forth. And it's traced back to those events. But what happens is that projection then is on the world. We want to hold on to this belief because this belief we feel keeps us safe. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The reality is we're not accepting one very basic truth, and that every belief that's out of harmony with love will create the event we're afraid of. So actually holding on to the belief keeps us the most unsafe we could be. So while I'm holding on to the belief, right, that I want to blame men and I'm going to keep my rage and I'm going to keep my anger with men, I'm going to make sure they all understand that they're just all bastards, right? And I want to hold on to this rage and anger with men, I'm at that point actually going to attract men who are bastards, right, if we could use that term loosely, affecting our life and causing a lot more pain in our life. That is the most dangerous thing I can do, is hold on to that feeling, that belief. Right? The best thing I can do is actually feel my way through into, I no longer want to hold on to it, I want to feel this emotion inside of me. Now, part of it is acknowledging the truth. So part of you dealing with this emotion is to actually state the truth to yourself. I want to reject the man. I want to blame them. And I don't really give a stuff which man. That's the truth, right?
Yeah, it's how I've been feeling.
Yeah, I don't give a stuff which man. It doesn't have to be my dad who did the damage. It can be my husband or it can be my son even, and I'll still do it because all men are bastards. You know what I mean? There's this play that goes on. And what we're avoiding is the actual feeling of talking to the person who created it. So what we're doing when we blame all men is we're avoiding the specifics. We're avoiding going up and talking to the actual man who did the damage. In a lot of cases, it's going to be your dad. You don't want to talk to your dad about it. Why? Well, he might not be in a state where he'll listen, but you can write to him about it. You can read it out if he's in the spirit world or if he's got Alzheimer's or some other thing like that. You can, when he's asleep, his spirit body is there and he can hear it in the spirit form. So you say it then. Do you know what I mean? You pull him to
I feel like I've certainly done some of that.
Good.
But it's just like there's so much more and so much more. And
then go deeper into the grief of the relationship and express your grief to him, to the man who did the damage. Now, if the man who did the damage is still alive and he's still doing damage, he's not going to listen to that very much. So write the letter, express the grief, read it out. Do you know what I mean? Like, do the work that connects you with the grief you feel so that you can release it from yourself. Right? While you hold on to the rage, towards the male and want to, you're not owning the fact that actually you want to damage these men for the damage they gave to you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, and I've recognised that. And,
Yep.
and because I've seen more of that, and it's like I've been pushed up against this wall of I have to deal with this, you know, like, and I've had a law of attraction, you know, that's with a very condescending, you know, like male.
Mm-hmm. Similar to Dad was when he was...
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then, of course, when I'm in this, still wanting to be angry and blame, I forget all the things that I know what to do.
You just want to focus it at that man
right,
who reminds you of your dad.
Yeah, it's incredible how that...
But can you also see how you're avoiding some of the things with your dad? You see, just because a person has Alzheimer's, it doesn't mean you have to look after him. She doesn't want to look after him. Now, see, what happened is a lot of people go, that didn't sound very loving. Like, if he's got Alzheimer's, you should look after him. We have all these judgments, right? But he's got Alzheimer's, actually, because he doesn't want to remember what he's done to his own daughter. He doesn't want to feel about what he's done to his own daughter. He doesn't even want to remember what he's done. Right? He's created this disease inside of himself just so that he can avoid the results or consequences of his actions. And the truth is that as a child, we don't have to do anything. A lot of times we make choices because society dictates to us that's the loving thing to do. It's not loving to do something for somebody else when you don't want to do it. Even if you're being unloving by not wanting to do it, it's still not loving. Do you understand? It's like, if I'm, let's say, once I deal with all of my emotions, I will want to act lovingly to everyone, will I not? Even the people who abuse me, I will act loving towards, won't I? But you're not going to manufacture this state. This state has to be a real state, a state that happens inside of yourself after your emotional processing work. Do you follow? So, that bearing in mind, if right at this moment I am so angry with my dad that I don't want to have to look after him just because he's got Alzheimer's, the most truthful state to me to be in is to not look after him just because he's got Alzheimer's. Does that make sense? That is the most truthful place to be in that moment. And you can have everyone in the world condemn you for it, but it's still the most truthful place to be. Now, I'm not saying it's the most loving place to be yet, because you need to yet deal with some emotion of the rage and anger and all these other things. And once you get out of there, actually you may still decide not to help Dad who's got Alzheimer's, but you won't be angry about it, right? While there's anger, there's obviously the underlying emotion. But what I'm saying is, why do we continue to take actions that we don't want to take and then get angry about them or upset that we're having to do them? We need to be a lot more honest. See, in the spirit world, that doesn't happen. That's one of the good things about the spirit world, particularly in the high spheres. Nobody ever takes an action that they didn't want to do. Now, when you think about it, that simplifies things a lot, doesn't it? So you imagine, tomorrow night, Dad comes home from work and Mum says, I don't want to cook dinner. Don't want to have sex with you either. And now that I think about it, for the last 10 years I feel that you've been a demanding bastard and I'm tired of it. Let's imagine for a moment that everybody in the world decided to tell exactly the truth, but every other person they're telling the truth to decided to feel their emotions. Imagine that for a moment. What would happen is you'd have a lot of people feeling their emotions and a lot of people working their way through a lot of things without there being violence and other emotions coming out of them. So if we have a parent who's in need of our assistance, but we feel angry with them, then by assisting them, we're compromising our feeling right at that moment. We're not learning to love ourselves. We're not loving our parent, by the way, either at that moment. We'd be far better off asking somebody else, doing something else to actually make that care happen and actually work through our emotion. But I'm not saying ignore the emotion, by the way, here, right? Because the emotion is an unloving emotion and I do need to work through it. But I do need to address the issue. No one has to do anything for anyone.